Number one issue for you as a candidate personally, and why should the voters of SD&SG give you their trust and vote in October? I was born and raised here, volunteered for community service all my adult life. In minor sports, senior sports, service clubs, local fair board, and my church. I have been involved in municipal government for almost 17 years, the last 8 as mayor of South Glengarry. As a warden in 2006 of Stormont Dundas in Glengarry, I worked with the City of Cornwall to lobby the province for fair tax treatment, traveling along with the mayor and staff to Toronto to support them. I care about this community. I have worked hard for it, and I have the political experience that the job demands. I have a record of working as a team player, and I've gotten the results to show for it. Since entering municipal government in 1994, I have experienced many things, but nothing like the waste and overregulation enacted by this Liberal government. It is time to bring prosperity and growth back to Ontario by creating an environment that supports and encourages job creation, and our small businesses are capable of doing and have done in the past. We must get away from the vote buying practices of the Dalton McGuinty Liberals and focus on a clear set of priorities that the people of Ontario support and deserve. Vote for Jim McDonnell and the Progressive Conservative team to bring prosperity back to Ontario.
The number one issue that I see as a candidate for the Ontario Liberal Party is to fight to protect what we have and all the gains that we've made. They closed hospitals, we opened them. They laid off nurses, we've hired them. I've seen personally and met personally people that have moved here to Cornwall from other provinces who have had the opportunity to buy a house that's more affordable, to see a doctor, to go into a health center that was built within the last 8 years. With respect to our education system, 20-some million days were lost to strikes under previous governments. We haven't lost one day in 8 years. Not only are our children getting a strong start with respect to the full day kindergarten, which is backed by the opposition, but they're getting a strong finish. More young people are graduating, and I've met some of these people personally. When we look at social housing was built in the City of Cornwall and out in the townships for the first time in over 20 years. When you meet a person who lives in a handicap accessible unit that was living in a place before where they couldn't even go to the bathroom by themselves, and I can take you to see some of those people personally, some of those effects have been life-changing for people, and those are all as a result of the Ontario Liberal government policies. Thank you.
I'd just like to refocus our attention. There are two sides to this question, and the first one, of course, is the number one issue for us as candidates, and the second one is why the voters should trust me. So I'll start with the number one issue for me as a candidate. The number one issue for me is that any policies that I sign off on literally help the whole community advance toward the triple bottom line. That is to say, any policy that we adopt should enhance our standing economically. It should make us richer, leave us more money in our pocket at the end of the day. But it should also not hurt the environment. Too often we've seen the opposite happen. Now maybe we'll go beyond that. Not only will we not hurt the environment, we will actually enhance the environment and will begin to counter the worst effects of climate change. And thirdly, any policy that we endorse really has to contribute to our social cohesion and advance our standing as a community. Now, why voters should trust me? Look at my record as a city councillor. I'm a team player. I have worked with my colleagues under the very capable leadership of Bob Kilger to revitalize our community. We've got some wonderful successes if you drive around town. But beyond that, through my labour work and my health coalition work, I've advocated policies that affect everybody right across the province, from sea to sea to lakes. So I think my record speaks for itself, and I ask people to vote for me on the basis of that record.
When we look at the record over the last 8 years of the Ontario Liberals under Dalton McGuinty, we're leading the way. Ontario is leading the way with respect to job creation, with respect to economic recovery. When you look at healthcare, under the Conservative government, they closed hospitals. We opened hospitals. I've met people personally that have moved here to this riding, to this city, for the health care that we have, for the hospitals that we have. When you go out and look at the hospital in Winchester, and I would invite anybody that wants to go out there and look at it, I mean, it is something to see. We have had massive amounts of infrastructure spending from one end of the riding to the other. And in South Glengarry, if you look at the health center that was built out there.
I think one thing we should look at, first of all, this is why I'm running personally and why people should vote for me. I have a record in my 19 years and 17 years in politics, honest and forthright. I've worked as a team player, and I think I'm proud of my record, and people will tell you that throughout the counties. But when we talk about hidden agendas, I bring that up because that's something that's come up in the past. They spent, Liberal governments and through the lens has put 2 years into a study on health care and what the services are going to be put forth in our hospitals. Why is that being buried till after the election? That report is done. It was done earlier this year. Another example of something that they don't want us to see until after the election.
Well, I have to say that my colleague points to the success of the Winchester Hospital, and I think maybe that's an example of one of those policies that addresses one particular aspect of a huge complex problem and rests its laurels on the achievements in that area. What we have to do in terms of healthcare, and believe me, we're the only party you can trust to really do it, is take a good look and develop comprehensive policies that don't just establish and support a hospital, but look to long-term care and look to home care and look to establishing clinics. We need a broad spectrum of supportive services in healthcare, and you can trust the NDP. We brought you public healthcare. Believe me, we're going to rebuild it.
Again, we're talking about why people should vote for me. I truly believe in the healthcare system. I believe that the Ontario residents should not be forced to pay for the service. Saying that, 70% of our budget is now on healthcare. We have to look at it, and I think if you were to talk to 80 out of 100 people in this community, they would not tell you they're happy with the system. We have to make improvements. Too many people are waiting a long time. Too many people do not have a doctor.
When you look at fighting to try and keep and to protect what we have, what we've gained and the gains that we've made over the last 8 years, there was a time when you couldn't get a doctor. The wait times were too long. Those have all been reduced.
Hear, hear.
When you look at the fact that we have people moving from other provinces to Ontario for the healthcare system that we've managed to build over the last 8 years.
I drove 4 hours to my doctor.
I have to say of both my colleagues that given the tax cut policies that their parties are advocating, they can't possibly support the hospitals who support their avowing here today. Let me tell you, if you're going to cut taxes, then you're going to have to hold a whole lot of bake sales to support our healthcare system, and I don't see anybody proposing to do that.
Okay, that's time on the question. That's it for this question. Thank you, candidates.